To those of you with families, or God forbid, children, I'm deeply, deeply sorry. But you must push on. Do not let their deaths be in vain. We do still have time. Humanity may still have a future. Come to Site 19. We need all the hands we can get. Learn to embrace the darkness. Fear the light. You find the access tunnel, hidden within a natural cave a mile off the main road. You don't need the key card. The door is ajar. It smells here. It smells like them. Hopefully they've moved on. You've come so far already. You can't turn back now. There's a slick trail that leads from the cave entrance and into the depths of the site. If it's blood or shit, or something that's smeared off of one of those things, you cannot tell. You make a point to avoid it. You're still receiving the distress signal. It only started broadcasting yesterday, and whoever it is, you pray that they're still alive. Your footsteps echo throughout the empty corridors. Each footfall sounds for all the world like a dozen, as if you're not treading through the dark alone. Elevator is down, so you take the stairs, ending on floor B5, key to holding. You pass several empty containment chambers. The horrors they once held are long gone, if you're lucky. The trail takes you to an office branching off the main hall, the source of the signal. The door is cracked open, but stuck. You plant your feet. Push with all of your might. And something skitters out of the room to your left and around the corner before you can get a good look at it. Your first thought is dog, but it was on the ceiling though. You take refuge in the room, slam the door behind you. It's dark here. You're safe. You take off your jacket and head wrap. It'd be a damn shame to die from something like hypothermia after all that's happened. The sole operating emergency light rotates in its casing, casting a pale orange glow across the room every other second, as if the room itself had a pulse. There's shelving haphazardly placed behind the door, a barricade. You scan the room, soiled clothes, half-eaten food, and despite the presence of an adjoining restroom, there is excrement in a bucket in the corner. A pneumatic chamber on the northern wall would have been delivering consumables to the occupant. The trail terminates in the corner of the room, forming a sick puddle. You spot 3 pharmacy bottles. Further inspection reveals them to be various opioids. They're all empty. There's a desk with a computer atop it. Approaching the terminal, you can clearly see the blinking light of the power button. You take a seat and turn it on. Emergency protocol activated. Clearance level. Safeguards removed. Full access granted. You hear footsteps just outside the door. Every first step comes down heavy. The second drags behind it. A dark shape blots out the light streaming in through the slit between the floor and the doorway. You tense up, waiting with bated breath, praying it will pass. You damn the deafening thumping of your heart for betraying your position. The shadow recedes. You breathe a sigh of deep relief, just as the screen comes to life. Opening file. Automated Secure System Notification Code 235. There has been an error in retrieving the current iteration of SCP-001 file. You are currently viewing revision number 3. Newer revisions can be accessed at the bottom of this page. Revision 312, updated 1,312 days ago.
Item number SCP-001. Object Class Apollyon. Description: SCP-001 is the designation given to the Sun after an event resulting in 6.8 billion casualties within the first 24 hours. This event has been categorized as an XK Delta class solar singularity scenario. The SCP-001 effect does not seem to result from exposure to ultraviolet rays, but rather the light in the visual spectrum, 390 to 700 nanometers. The effect is similarly present in moonlight. Upon contact with visible light produced by the sun, living organisms liquefy at the point of contact, with the effect spreading until the entire organism is converted. Visually, this is reminiscent of melting wax. The time this takes is largely dependent on the level of exposure and the size of the organism. Despite this restructuring, at no point do the living organisms perish. Upon completion, these organisms, now dubbed 001A, take on a gelatinous consistency. Motile organisms will attempt to orient themselves in a fashion reminiscent of their previous form, to varying degrees of success. Flora typically remain physically inert, yet are capable of photosynthesis and still produce oxygen. Organisms capable of flight lose the ability to do so. Fauna remain sentient and display behavior that parallels their non-anomalous counterparts when not absorbed into the collective instance. Humans retain a modicum of sapience and memory. Biological anomalies exposed to SCP-001 are affected in the same manner. It seems that exposure nullifies any previously expressed anomalous characteristics. Due to their composition, instances of SCP-001A that make contact with one another may combine and blend at a molecular level. This does not seem to cause any pain or distress to the instances, though the resulting bulk can inhibit movement. Since the SCP-001 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives, which seems to possess no maximum volume. The resulting biomass is amorphous and chaotic. The component organisms will shift between a full to semi-liquid state. Limbs and bodies will rise periodically from within the mass for a short duration, before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Collective instances will locomote by using their appendages in tandem to carry their mass. Larger instances will form a pseudopod from the constitute life forms, and drag themselves about in a manner similar to an amoeba. Special Containment Procedures. Due to its nature, SCP-001 cannot be contained. Travel by foot should be limited as much as possible. Cities and man-made structures in general provide the greatest protection. Formerly wooded areas should be circumvented. Travel by air is preferable above all other means. Personnel exposed to SCP-001 are to be considered lost. Compromised personnel are to be abandoned. Euthanization is not to be attempted. Collective instances of SCP-001A that are of formidable size are to be avoided at all costs. Conductive electrical weapons have proven partially effective at immobilizing instances, and may be used for self-defense. Incendiary weapons work well. Cryonic munitions are the best thus far. Testing has revealed that SCP-001A is relatively safe to consume. This is only to be considered as a last resort in the absence of other options, as SCP-001A may reconstitute within the digestive system. Only small portions should be consumed at a time to prevent blockage. Personnel stationed at Site-19 are to pursue research concerning off-world colonization. The shuttles must be constructed as to not allow light to penetrate its interior.
You notice an additional attached audio log at the end of the page. You press. A harsh static lashes out over the speakers when you open the file. It disturbs the stillness of the room, catches you off guard, and quickens your heart's pace. There's some handling noise as the recorder adjusts their microphone. A brief moment of silence passes, and then you hear a woman's voice. She explains she's a level 3 researcher for the Foundation, and that due to Site-46's possession of several communicable info hazards, the site has been cut off from the network. Apparently there has been a containment breach, in which nearly half a dozen Keeters escaped. Well, that is, until they made it outside. The rest of the recording she spent speaking with an Ori. From the flirting you can tell the two are romantically linked. The playful banter from the two brings the beginnings of a smile to your face. Until you remember where you are. The audio concludes with Igoda professing her love for Ori, and Ori reciprocates. Love. A word so foreign to you now. You open the next revision of the document. Revision 512, updated 1,202 days ago. Nothing in the file has changed, aside from another audio log from Igoda. You hear fear rattle her voice. She describes an incident where a collection of 001 instances began congregating outside, begging them to come out into the light. One of the masses had nearly a dozen people and God knows how many animals rolling around inside it. It let off a cacophony of sounds, screams, screeches, and howls. The worst were the ones that made an awful moaning, like they were enjoying it. She then detailed a plan in which one of the D-class personnel was sent outside to see if he could distract the horde. All he asked for was a gun and a single round. He made it out there, and one of them got him. Tried to get his mask off. He managed to work the pistol beneath his chin in time, and fired. They all figured he was lucky. After he fell limp, though, it kept working at his suit, pried off the hood, poured itself inside, and began tearing it off from within. He came back, started changing, dripping out of the suit, screaming and screaming and screaming. Her final words in the recording linger in your mind. They won't even let us die. Revision 812, updated 1,200 days ago. There are no changes to the object class, special containment procedures, or description, but there is a video file attached. You press it. You see her for the first time. Dr. Igoda is seated right where you are now. She has a pained look. Her eyes are bloodshot. A large, wet, red-black blotch has formed on her breast pocket. She draws a shuddering breath, parts her lips as if to speak, and stops herself. She bows her head and cries. After a minute, she manages to choke out. Unfortunately, her plan to escape underneath the doctor's offices had fallen through. Horribly so. She reaches into her breast pocket and withdraws a finger. The glint of a wedding ring is visible above the severed portion. She holds it close, in cupped hands, and runs a thumb across the glimmering band. She sits like this for an eternity, whispering apology after apology, begging for forgiveness, lost in the moment. She looks up after some time. There's a look of realization on her face when she sees she's still recording. Before she places the digit back in her pocket, she leans forward as if to turn the camera off when a radio crackles to life. It broadcasts white noise for a few seconds, and then a voice that sets you on edge. Logan? It's Ori. Her voice has taken on the disgusting gurgling tone characteristic of the affected. Logan's jaw drops. What little color was left in her face drains. It speaks again.
Where are you? Why can't I get back inside?
Are you there? Logan rummages beneath the desk for a moment, produces a handheld radio. Her hands are shaking. The thing implores her. Its inhuman speech curdles your stomach.
Babe, it's all right.
I'm all right. Really? It's a bright,
Sunny day, and you're wasting away.
down there. Logan is in tears, her finger hovering just above the call button. The Ori thing draws a deep, wet breath and speaks.
Such a beautiful, clear blue sky.
Just like that day. Do you remember, babe? Logan withdraws a cigarette with her free hand, followed by a pack of matches. Her shaking thwarts the first two attempts to light it. She swears silently. Third time's the charm, and she inhales a quarter of it in a single drag. The airy thing continues.
It was so perfect.
Everything was how I'd always dreamt it would be.
You planned so exquisitely.
I'd never felt so in love.
You even had the band to play our song.
It starts singing. Golden days in the sunshine of happy youth. Logan begins rocking back and forth in her chair.
Golden days in the sunshine of happy youth.
Logan hurls the radio across the room. It smashes somewhere off camera. It's still somewhat operational. You can still hear the thing singing. More voices join in chorus as the radio slowly loses life. A few, a dozen, then more. They continue singing until the radio mercifully dies. Logan rushes out of her chair, and you can hear her vomiting off screen. The video films the empty seat for several minutes before she returns to end the feed. A lingering, paranoid sensation washes over you. You're being watched. You defensively dart your eyes about, though they take a second to adjust to the darkness beyond the monitor. The emergency light sweeps across the room, stretching and twisting the shadows beyond recognition. And that's when you spot it. There, in the corner, coming out of the puddle, time slows to a halt. A pair of hands coated in the lustrous black slime you followed through the facility are on the other side of the sickening pool, as if something beneath the floor is bracing itself, trying to lift itself up and up. Something inhuman. The head comes next, rising from the muck. Matted hair conceals its face, plastered over it by a mysterious fluid. It turns your direction. It stares at you from the corner, which once again falls into darkness. The emergency light continues its journey across the room. It washes over the puddle again, revealing nothing out of the ordinary. Revision 912, updated 986 days ago. You open the attachment at the end of the file, yet again, and it's Dr. Rigoda. She's lost weight. Her eyes are bloodshot and wide. On the table before her lays a knife, a bowl, and a stack of manila envelopes filled with yellowing pages. Atop this stack is a blood-stained parchment. You hear how shaken she is. She has lost faith in what the Foundation was, what it could be. Site 19 had stopped broadcasting. It's been harder for her to find a reason to keep going, especially without Ori. She grabs the knife, contemplates it for a moment. She reveals that she feels she is all out of options, and that maybe this last drastic step could save her, could save Ori. Because that thing on the other side of the door, it wasn't her anymore. It may sound like her, it may know her thoughts, but it is not her. The light takes your body, it steals your mind. But what about your soul? With this, she slices into the palm of her left hand and winces. You watch her clench her fist, draining her blood into the bowl. She proclaims that if this works, if she can bring back something the light couldn't reach, she'd post an update here. Revision 4847.
Error.
Updated 985 days ago. You open the file and find the entire document is corrupted and changed.
Item.
Hurts.
Object.
Apologize.
Special Containment Procedures. SCP-001
Should not.
be contained. Survivors of the SCP-001 event stationed within secure facilities can
Never truly be one with another.
Personnel are encouraged to
Get over themselves and stop thinking they know better. You can't hide down here forever, love.
Personnel exposed to SCP-001
Aren't people you can just...
abandon.
I didn't ask for you to save me. It wasn't your choice to make.
Euthanization is
Not
to be attempted. Conductive electrical weapons
why.
have proven partially effective at immobilizing instances.
You couldn't stand to see me better off.
Incendiary weapons,
Tickle.
cryonic munitions are the most effective thus far. Personnel stationed at Site 19
Have no regrets. Neither did I. It's never too late, babe.
Description: SCP-001 is the designation given to the Sun.
After we finally became free.
The effects are instantaneous, resulting
In full release from all suffering until you ripped me away. These changes seem scary, I know.
Despite this restructuring, at no point
Will you die? I promise.
due to their composition, instances of SCP-001 that make contact with one another may combine and blend, and
Finally exist.
this does not cause,
Any pain.
since the SCP-001 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives, which seems to possess no maximum volume.
Don't be afraid.
The resulting biomass is
Beautiful.
the component organisms will shift in and over,
And around and through and through and out and in and out and in.
limbs and bodies,
Never letting go.
before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Collective instances will locomote by
Trying to get close to you again. Trying so hard. Let me in. Let me go back.
There's a video file attached. Opening it, you see it presents the room you're in. The feed seems to be coming from one of the security cams up in the corner of the room. It's dark, but you can just make out Dr. Rigoda, laying on a pile of laundry along the far wall. She's writhing in her sleep. She seems tormented, hurt. She's tossing and turning and mumbling nonsense words. The camera shakes. It lifts upward for a moment before it focuses on her again. It starts moving. Closer. Slowly. The speakers come to life, picking up an airy, breathing static. As the camera moves closer to the doctor, it becomes clearer, crisper. It's not merely white noise, but dozens, hundreds of voices whispering unintelligibly over each other. You lean in, press your ear almost against the speaker, trying to discern what it is that's being said. Something strange stands out amidst the discordance. Are you paying attention? This next bit is just for you. You're not quite sure what to make of it, though. Looking back at the monitor, the camera has come to a halt inches away from the sleeping doctor. The voices stop. There is no sound. A hand, black and oily and skeletal, reaches out for her, brushes away a lock of her hair. Her eyes shoot open. She recoils in shock. The feed cuts out. Revision 1212, updated 1 day ago. The bulk of the document is still corrupted, as it was in the last file. Some of the words have changed. You scroll past them and access the attachment at the bottom of the page. Dr. Rigoda appears before you on the screen, looking even worse for wear than she did previously. Her hair is thinning, with large swaths appearing absent from the middle of her head. If they weren't reflecting the soft glow of the monitor, you would have assumed she no longer had eyes for how deep they recessed into her skull. She stares ahead, unblinking. She fears she has contracted an info hazard while browsing the archives. She tested herself for SCP-8673 infection. It returned negative. She tested herself for SCP-9189 infection, the only other one that uses print as a vector. She figures that can't be. She still has all her fingers. Her lips crack into a broken grin. She lets out a weak laugh and displays her trembling hands. What appears to be the mostly skeletal remains of a finger is embedded into the flesh of her left hand, in the stump that would have supported her natural ring finger. 2 wedding bands loosely encircle the digit, laying atop one another. She proclaims she has not lost her mind, but you can tell that there are no words left about the woman. Something catches her attention off-screen. She cocks her head, listening. She begins rubbing her temples, repeating herself over and over again. A minute passes. She snaps her head back up and addresses the camera. She sees now that whatever thing she's brought back is not Ori. Ori is still a part of O1. There's no way for her out now. No hope, no future for her. You wonder how long she can go on like this. She then brandishes a handgun. She admits she was planning on using it until she found some leftover medications. She doesn't want to risk the attention it would draw to her body. She then opens the desk drawer and deposits the firearm. She raises her gaze and stares into the camera and apologizes to her family, to Ori. She reaches forward and ends the recording. Did it have to end like that? You open the drawer and pull out the gun. You absent-mindedly turn it over in your hands, for a moment, wondering where you'll go from here. Site 17. 64. Surely you can't be all that's left. The computer dings. There's been an update to the file. Current iteration updated 1 minute ago. Saffron skies raise the blazing sun. A chance encounter, awkward displays. One day, my love, we'd be as one. With 2 entwined, a set course begun. That frantic, wild, lustrous haze. Azure skies host the radiant sun. Above us beaming as we run. Down that aisle of fervent craze. That day, my love, we became as one. With future unfolded, the life we'd won. Commitment and duty for the family we'd raise. Cerulean skies ferry the shimmering sun. Buried, shackled by fate, overrun by ever-growing resent and malaise. Yesterday, my love, we were as one. Now you lie here, the life in you gone. in the dark outside of her rays. Crimson skies bear the torch our sun. Today, my love, will be as one. Without your prompting, the page begins playing a video file. You freeze when the image loads. It's a live feed looking down on you from behind. A foot away, a skeletal, inky left hand enters the frame, approaching you at a snail's pace. It's missing its ring finger. Without a second thought, you turn and fire it, hoping to drive off the specter. Your bullets meet an empty wall. There's nothing there. A second passes before you hear it, before you hear them. Sloshing, wet thuds coming down in the corridor, accompanied by a chorus of screams. It slams into the door. Could there be a place to hide? It strikes a second time. What appears to be a face, part human, part something, dribbles in under the frame. Bits of flesh of God knows what oozes through the sides and reconstitutes into fingers, eyes, feathers. A third. Now it's pressing up against the wood, causing it to sag inwards. With a groan and a crash, the wood splinters. The door explodes. Hands and arms stretch out of the mass, pulling you up, passing you from one to the next, on and on down the line. They drag you past empty containment units, upwards and through the stairwell, through the halls and towards the tunnel. You're afforded a precious few moments in the darkness. At the end of the tunnel, there is light.